The great hall of the Valari Empire was silent, but the silence was heavy, like grief that had learned to breathe. Tall crystal pillars glowed with soft blue light, reflecting off polished floors that had seen centuries of victory, celebration, and power. At the far end of the hall sat the alien queen, ruler of 1,000 systems. To her people, she was unbreakable. To herself, she was a mother who had lost her child. Every cycle, on this same day, the queen dismissed her advisors early. She did not attend banquets. She did not hear petitions. Instead, she walked alone through a quiet wing of the palace, a place no one else was allowed to enter. At the end of the corridor was a chamber frozen in time. Small ornaments floated gently in the air, powered by old gravity fields. A half-finished star map glowed faintly on one wall. A ceremonial sash lay folded neatly on a table. Untouched for years, this had been her daughter's room. Princess Alira had vanished 6 years ago. Her ship had been lost near the outer borders, close to human-controlled space. The rescue fleets had searched for months. When nothing was found, the council declared her dead. The empire moved on. The queen never did. She stood in the doorway now, her tall form wrapped in royal black and silver. Her eyes, once sharp and commanding, softened, as they always did here. She reached out, brushing her fingers across the air where her daughter used to stand. "You should be here," she whispered. A soft chime echoed through the corridor, breaking the moment. The queen straightened at once, her grief hidden behind practiced control. An aide bowed deeply from a distance. "Your Majesty," the aide said carefully, "a human military vessel has entered Imperial space. They are requesting immediate audience." The queen's eyes narrowed. "Humans do not request audience," she said coldly. "They avoid our space." "There is a complication," the aide replied. "They claim to be carrying a survivor recovered from a dead world. They insist the matter concerns the royal bloodline." The queen froze. For a heartbeat, she said nothing. Then she turned sharply. "Bring them," she commanded. "Now." Within the hour, the great hall filled again. Nobles, guards, and council members took their places, whispering in low voices. Humans were rare here. Distrust of them ran deep. They were known as stubborn, unpredictable, and dangerously loyal to their own kind. The main doors opened with a deep metallic sound. A single human soldier stepped inside. He was tall by human standards, broad-shouldered, wearing worn but clean armor marked with scratches and burn scars. His helmet was clipped to his side, revealing a tired face and steady eyes. He did not bow fully, but he lowered his head in respect. Beside him walked a cloaked figure. The figure was smaller, moving slowly, leaning slightly toward the human, as if drawing strength from his presence. Her face was hidden, but her posture was careful, almost fragile. The hall filled with murmurs. The queen rose from her throne. "Human," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. "State your name and purpose." The soldier looked up, meeting her gaze without fear or challenge. "My name is Sergeant Elias Kane, Terran Defense Forces," he said. "I am here to return someone who was taken from you." Gasps spread through the hall. The cloaked figure took a step forward. Her hands trembled slightly. The human shifted closer, his stance protective but gentle. The queen's breath caught. Something in the way the figure moved, something familiar, sent a sharp pain through her chest. "Remove the cloak," the queen said softly. The figure hesitated. Then, slowly, she reached up and pulled the fabric back. Time seemed to stop. Her face was thinner. There were faint scars along her temple. Her royal markings had faded, dulled by years of hardship. But her eyes, they were the same. "Mom," the young woman whispered. The queen did not remember moving. One moment she was standing before the throne, and the next she was across the hall, dropping to her knees and pulling her daughter into her arms. The court erupted into chaos. But the queen heard nothing. "My child," she breathed, her voice breaking. "My Alira." Tears fell freely now, soaking into her daughter's cloak as she held her like she might vanish again. Alira clung to her mother, shaking, crying openly. Years of fear and loneliness pouring out at once. "I thought I'd never see you again," Alira sobbed. "I tried to come home. I really did." "You are home," the queen said fiercely. "You are safe." The human soldier stepped back, giving them space, his face turned respectfully away. Guards watched him closely, hands near their weapons, unsure what to make of this moment. After a long while, the queen finally pulled back, holding her daughter's face in her hands. She studied every scar, every change. "Who did this to you?" she asked quietly. Alira glanced back toward the human. "He saved me," she said. When everyone else was gone, the queen turned her gaze to Sergeant Kane. For the first time, her expression was not cold or distant. "Explain," she commanded. The human nodded once. "We found her on a collapsed world near the border," he said. "No cities, no signals, just ruins and storms. She was injured and alone. Hostiles were still sweeping the area." "You disobeyed orders," one council member snapped. "Humans are not allowed to interfere in imperial matters." Elias met the council member's gaze calmly. "I wasn't thinking about empires," he said. "I was thinking about leaving a young woman to die. I couldn't do that." The room went silent again. Alira stepped forward, her voice gaining strength. "He stayed," she said. "When his unit pulled out, he stayed. He protected me. He shared his food. He carried me when I couldn't walk anymore." The queen listened, her eyes never leaving the human. "How long?" she asked. 3 months, Elias replied. "Long enough to learn that hope is heavy, but worth carrying." The queen said nothing. At last, she raised her hand. "This audience is suspended," she announced. "The princess will receive medical care immediately. The human will remain under royal protection until further notice." Guards moved, but not toward Elias. Instead, they formed a respectful perimeter. As Alira was gently guided away, she turned back. "He didn't just save my life," she said clearly. "He brought me home." The queen watched the human soldier as the doors closed behind her daughter. For the first time in many years, hope returned to the throne of the Valari Empire, and the galaxy had no idea what this single act of human compassion was about to change. The royal medical wing was brighter than the Great Hall, filled with soft white light and the quiet hum of advanced machines. Princess Alira lay on a wide healing platform, surrounded by careful attendants and medical drones. Thin streams of light scanned her body, reading wounds that time and pain had carved into her. The alien queen stood beside the platform and did not move. She had ruled empires, commanded fleets, and faced enemies without fear. Yet now, watching her daughter breathe, she felt more afraid than she ever had in battle. Every slow rise of Alira's chest mattered. Every small change made her heart tighten. "She is stable," the chief healer said gently. "Malnourished, exhausted, but alive, stronger than expected." The queen let out a breath she did not know she was holding. "Leave us," she said. The healers bowed and stepped back, leaving mother and daughter alone in the quiet room. For a long moment, neither spoke. Alira finally turned her head and looked at her mother. Her eyes were older now. Not weak, but changed. "I'm sorry," Alira said softly. "I didn't mean to be gone so long." The queen reached out and took her daughter's hand. "You survived," she replied. "That is all that matters." Tears filled Alira's eyes again. "I was scared," she admitted. "Every day." The queen squeezed her hand gently. "Tell me everything," she said. "When you are ready." Alira closed her eyes, then began. Her ship had been damaged during a border conflict. She had escaped in a pod, landing on a broken world covered in storms and ruins. The planet was dying, but not empty. Raiders and scavengers still hunted there, searching for anything valuable. "I hid for days," Alira said. "I was hurt. I thought I would fade away." Then she spoke of the moment she saw a human patrol ship overhead. She had activated a weak distress signal, not knowing if anyone would answer. "They almost left," she said quietly. "Their mission was ending. They didn't know who I was." The queen listened closely, her expression unreadable. Everyone else returned to their ship, Alira continued. But he didn't. The queen did not need to ask who she meant. Across the palace, in a guarded but comfortable chamber, Sergeant Elias Kane sat alone. His armor had been removed. He wore a simple human uniform now. Clean but worn at the edges, 2 Imperial guards stood outside the door, not threatening, but watchful. He stared at his hands. For weeks, survival had filled his thoughts. Protecting Alira had been his only purpose. Now that she was safe, the weight of what he had done settled on him. Disobeyed orders, entered forbidden space, changed the course of 2 empires. A soft sound came from the doorway. The queen entered alone. The guards remained outside. Elias rose at once, standing straight, eyes forward. "Your Majesty," he said respectfully. The queen studied him carefully. Without armor, he looked more human. Tired, scarred, real. "You stayed," she said. "When you were not required to." "Yes," Elias replied. "Why?" He thought for a moment. "She was alone," he said. "I couldn't leave her." "That answer is too simple," the queen said. Elias met her gaze. "Sometimes the truth is simple," he replied. The queen walked slowly around the room, her presence calm but heavy. "You knew who she was?" she asked. "No," Elias said. "Not at first. Just someone who needed help. And when you found out, I still didn't leave." Silence filled the chamber. "You risked war," the queen said. "I know," Elias replied. "If that is my punishment, I accept it." The queen stopped in front of him. "My daughter says you carried her across storms," she said. "That you shielded her with your own body." Elias nodded once. "She would have done the same for me," he said. The queen searched his face, looking for lies, ambition, fear. She found none. "You are dismissed," she said finally. "For now." Elias bowed his head slightly. "Yes, Your Majesty." As she turned to leave, the queen paused. "You saved more than a life today, human," she said quietly. "You returned hope to a broken throne." Elias did not answer. He only watched her go. News of the princess's return spread quickly across the empire. Crowds gathered outside the palace. Screens lit up across distant systems. Many wept openly. Others shouted prayers of thanks. The lost heir had come home, but not everyone celebrated. In the council chamber, tension grew. "This is dangerous," one noble argued. "A human soldier gaining favor so easily. Humans are unpredictable," another said. "This could be manipulation. The princess survived because of him," a third countered. "We cannot ignore that." The debate grew louder. "We should remove him," one voice said sharply, "before he becomes a symbol." The queen entered the chamber without warning. The room fell silent at once. "My daughter lives because a human chose compassion over orders," the queen said. "This council will remember that." No one spoke. "However," she continued, "trust is not given lightly. The human will remain under observation." The council bowed. That night, Alira woke from sleep. She felt stronger, warmer. She sat up slowly, looking around the room. The fear was gone now. For the first time in years, she felt safe. A familiar presence stood near the doorway. "Elias," she said softly. He stepped closer at once. "You should be resting," he said. "I am," she replied. "Because you're here." He hesitated. "I don't know how long they'll let me stay," he admitted. Alira reached out and took his hand, just as he had taken hers on that ruined world. "You promised you wouldn't leave," she said. "I promised I'd get you home," he replied gently. She smiled. "You did," she said. "Now let me protect you too." Outside the chamber, unseen and unheard, the queen watched through the doorway. For the first time, she understood. This human was not a weapon. He was a bond. And bonds, she knew, could change the fate of galaxies. Far beyond the palace, hidden among dark stars, something stirred. The signal that led the human to Alira had not been as silent as they believed. Someone else had heard it too, and they were coming. The warning came quietly, hidden inside routine data streams that crossed the Valari Empire every hour. At first, It looked like nothing more than background noise from deep space. But to trained eyes, it was a pattern, an incoming pattern. Deep within the palace, analysts froze as the data sharpened into something clear and dangerous. Unidentified vessels were moving toward the capital system. They were fast, silent, and they were not broadcasting peaceful intent. The Queen was informed at once. She stood in the strategy chamber, a circular room filled with floating star maps and shifting lights. Military commanders, intelligence officers, and council members gathered around her. At the center of the display, red markers crept closer to the heart of the Empire. They followed the signal, the intelligence chief said, the one activated years ago on the dead world. The Queen's expression hardened. "They are coming for my daughter," she said. "Yes," the officer replied. "Or the human." Murmurs spread through the room. "This is exactly what we warned about," one noble said sharply. "His presence invites danger." "He is not the cause," another argued. "He is the reason she survived." The Queen raised her hand. Silence returned. "What is their strength?" she asked. "Unknown," the commander replied. "But their ships match raider designs. Fast strike vessels. Designed for capture, not conquest. Capture." The Queen turned her gaze to the stars. "They will not take her," she said. "Prepare the defenses." Across the palace, Princess Alira stood at a balcony overlooking the city. The sky glowed with distant traffic and soft lights. For the first time since her return, she felt the weight of her position again. She was no longer just a survivor. She was a target. Elias stood a short distance behind her, watching the corridor. Alert, but calm. "They're coming, aren't they?" Alira asked quietly. "Yes," Elias replied. "I can feel it." She turned to face him. "This is my fault," she said. "You should never have stayed." Elias shook his head. "I would do it again," he said without hesitation. Alira studied his face. "You could leave now," she said. "My mother would let you. You don't belong in this war." Elias met her gaze. "I belong where you are," he said simply. Before she could answer, alarms echoed through the palace, low, controlled, but urgent. Red light washed over the halls. "They've crossed the outer defense line," a voice announced over the system. Multiple contacts. Hostile intent confirmed. Guards rushed past. The palace shifted into defensive mode. Alira's heart pounded, but she did not freeze. "Not anymore. Come with me," she said to Elias. They moved through secure corridors toward a reinforced command chamber. Along the way, Alira noticed something different. The guards did not look at Elias with suspicion anymore. They looked at him with trust. Inside the command chamber, the Queen stood tall, issuing orders. When she saw Alira, her expression softened for just a moment. "You should be in a secure shelter," the Queen said. "I won't hide," Alira replied. "Not again." The Queen studied her daughter, then nodded. "Very well," she said. "Stand beside me." The star map flared. Enemy ships dropped out of stealth at the edge of the capital's atmosphere. Sleek, dark vessels moved like predators, avoiding main defense lines and heading straight toward the palace district. "They're bypassing the fleet," the commander said. "They know exactly where to go." Elias stepped forward. "They're not here to fight," he said. "They want a fast grab." "How do you know?" a general demanded. "I've seen this before," Elias replied. "They think fear will slow you down." "They are wrong," the Queen said coldly. Despite the defenses, several enemy craft slipped through, using jamming fields and high-speed dives. One broke away, heading directly toward the palace towers. "Impact in 30 seconds, the system warned. "Evacuate the upper levels," the Queen ordered. But Alira stepped forward. "They're coming for me," she said. "Let them see me." The room went still. "That is too dangerous," the Queen said sharply. Elias looked at Alira, understanding her plan. "They want confirmation," he said. "If they don't get it, they'll keep attacking." Alira nodded. "I won't run anymore," she said. "I survived once." The Queen hesitated. Then she saw something she had not seen before. Confidence. "Very well," the Queen said. "But you will not stand alone." The palace roof opened, revealing the night sky. Defensive shields shimmered around a high platform. Alira stepped onto it. standing tall in ceremonial armor. Elias stood at her side, unarmed, but ready. Enemy craft hovered closer, scanning. There, a distorted voice echoed through open channels. The lost prize. The Queen's voice cut in, sharp and clear. You trespass in Valari space, she said. Leave now. The raiders laughed. We want what was stolen, they replied. The girl. And the human. Before negotiations could continue, a boarding craft slammed into the platform's edge, cutting through shields. Armed figures poured out. Fast and aggressive, guards moved to intercept. Elias stepped forward. He had no armor, no heavy weapon, only resolve. He grabbed a fallen energy baton, moving with practiced precision. He did not attack blindly. He protected space, placed himself between Alira and danger, deflecting blows, pushing attackers back. The guards fought harder seeing him stand there. Alira watched, not in fear, but in awe. One attacker broke through, rushing toward her. Alira raised her arm, activating a defensive field Elias had taught her to use years ago. The attacker slammed into it and fell back. Stunned, she did not flinch. The Queen watched from below, her hands clenched. Elias took a hit meant for Alira, staggering but staying upright. That's enough, the Queen said quietly. The palace cannons fired. Precise, controlled bursts disabled the remaining enemy craft. Raiders retreated, dragging their wounded, fleeing back into the dark. Silence returned, broken only by the hum of shields powering down. Elias dropped to one knee, breathing hard. Alira rushed to him. You're hurt, she said. I'm still standing, he replied with a small smile. Medical teams arrived quickly. As Elias was helped up, the Queen stepped onto the platform. She looked at the defeated attackers retreating into space. Then she looked at Elias. You defended my daughter, she said. Again, Elias bowed his head slightly. I always will, he said. The Queen turned to her people, her voice carrying across the city. Today, we stand because one human chose courage over fear, she declared. Let no one forget that. Cheers rose from below, but far away, beyond the stars, the raiders sent a final message before vanishing. This is not over. The Queen heard it, and she smiled not with fear, but with resolve, because now, humanity stood beside her throne, and the final answer would come soon. The morning sun had barely risen over the Valari capital, when the palace stirred with a calm purpose. For the first time in years, the city felt alive, not with fear or expectation, but with anticipation. Word of the princess's return, and the human who saved her, had spread through the empire like wildfire. Citizens gathered in the streets, their eyes turned toward the palace. Whispers of hope and admiration floating on the wind. Inside the palace, the Queen moved swiftly through corridors she knew like her own heartbeat. Every step was deliberate, yet lighter than it had been in years. She reached the command chamber, where Princess Alira stood beside Sergeant Elias Kane. Both were alert, their gazes trained on the glowing star maps hovering in midair, tracking the Empire's borders. The raiders had retreated, but their warning hung in the air like a dark cloud. They may regroup, the intelligence officer said. They will come, again. Alira's hand rested lightly on Elias's shoulder. Then, we will be ready, she said. Her voice carried quiet authority. The kind that came not from birthright alone, but from survival, struggle, and determination. The Queen studied them. Her daughter had grown stronger in months, and the human beside her was no longer a stranger or merely a soldier. He had become part of their story, a symbol of courage and loyalty that even the Empire could not ignore. You have done more than any fleet or army could, the Queen said to Elias. You have proven humanity's strength in ways words cannot capture. Elias inclined his head respectfully. I did what anyone would do, he replied simply. I protected someone who needed me. Alira smiled at him. Not anyone. Only you could have carried me through what you did. The Queen watched this quiet exchange, recognizing something she had not allowed herself to feel in years. Relief. Not just for her daughter, but for the bonds that could now strengthen her empire. She turned to the assembled council. "Today, we celebrate life, loyalty, and courage," she announced. "We acknowledge that even beyond our borders, allies can emerge in unexpected forms." There was silence, then nods and murmurs of agreement. The council had no choice but to recognize the truth. A sudden alert cut through the moment. A small fleet appeared on the edge of the system. Not the raiders, they were distant and too disorganized, but they bore the mark of mercenary forces, opportunists drawn by rumors of a human's heroics. Alira glanced at Elias. "Looks like our work isn't finished yet," she said. Elias gave a confident nod. "We'll face them together." The queen remained behind, observing. The human soldier moved naturally among Valari guards, coordinating defensive positions, offering strategies, and remaining calm under pressure. It was not just bravery that impressed her, it was wisdom, judgment, and a sense of empathy she had rarely seen in one so young. The attackers advanced quickly, relying on speed and surprise. The palace's outer shields flared to life, energy fields rippling across the towers. The human soldiers' instructions guided the guards, directing them to positions where they could maximize their defensive capabilities without risking unnecessary lives. Alira stepped forward as well, her energy field prepared. She moved fluidly, her hands directing precise defensive pulses. She was no longer the frightened girl from a ruined world. She was a warrior who had survived death, guided by the human who had refused to abandon her. The first wave of attackers struck. Sleek vessels darting at high speeds. Palace cannons opened fire, energy bolts streaking through the sky. Several ships were disabled before they could breach the shields. Others attempted to board, but were met by coordinated forces, led by Elias and Alira together. The battle was tense, every movement decisive. But for every attack, the defenders responded with calm precision. Guards trusted Elias's judgment, following his guidance without hesitation. Alira's energy barriers repelled threats directly aimed at the palace and its civilians. Finally, a boarding pod made it through the defenses, dropping 2 heavily armed raiders onto the palace platform. Elias moved first, positioning himself between them and Alira. He engaged them with skill and precision, disarming one with a calculated strike and forcing the other back with a controlled pulse of energy from a weapon Alira had handed him. "Enough!" The queen's voice rang out from the platform. She had descended, joining her daughter and the human soldier. Her presence alone commanded attention, her authority unchallenged. The raiders froze, realizing the fight was over before it had truly begun. "You will pay for this," one shouted, but the queen's glare made them hesitate. "You trespass in Valari space," the queen said, her tone cold, unwavering. "Leave, and do not return." The attackers retreated, their ships lifting off and fleeing into the void. The palace shields dimmed, energy flowing back into the grid as calm returned. Alira exhaled, leaning slightly on Elias's shoulder. He smiled faintly, exhausted but steady. The queen approached them both, her expression softened yet firm. "You have done more than defend my daughter," she said, looking at Elias. "You have defended the honor of my people." Alira reached up, taking her mother's hand. "You see now," she said. "He is family." The queen's eyes softened further. She turned to Elias. "You are no longer merely a guest or a soldier," she declared. "You are a protector of the throne and of my daughter. Your courage and your loyalty have earned you a place here, beside us." Elias bowed, humbled, yet firm. "I serve where I am needed, Your Majesty. Always." The citizens of the capital poured into the streets as word of the battle spread. They cheered, not just for the victory, but for what it represented: hope, courage, and unity. The human soldier, who had once crossed the stars to save a lost princess, had become a symbol that even the most distant worlds could see. That night, as the city slept, the queen stood on the palace balcony with her daughter. Alira leaned against her mother, her hand resting lightly on Elias's shoulder as he spoke quietly beside them. "You've given me more than life," Alira said, her voice soft. "You've given me courage. You've given me hope." Elias nodded, words unnecessary between them. The queen watched, feeling a profound relief. Humanity, she realized, had earned a place in her heart and in the empire, not through power, but through compassion, bravery, and loyalty. Far beyond the system, signals faded into space, returning to silence. The raiders would regroup, but they would not forget the lesson, and the Valari Empire, led by a queen reunited with her daughter and a human protector by their side, was stronger than ever. In the quiet, the queen spoke softly to herself. "Let the galaxy watch. Let it see what courage and humanity can achieve."